I'm Alexandra. I'm a trustee at the Vintage Carriages Trust, which is the organisation that runs the Carriage Works Museum at Rail Story. I'm primarily interested in collections and museum displays. So I've been involved since 2017 when I started here as an employee. Then since I left my employment I decided to become a trustee so that I could still stay involved with the kind of governance and resilience of the organisation. So I originally first got involved and started working here because of my family background in railways. A lot of my family are interested in railways, a lot of my family work in the railways, so it's something that I've kind of been brought up with and have always been interested in.
I'm Peter, I'm 25 years old. I'm a trustee of the Vintage Carriage Trust, which is obviously part of Rail Story. I help out front of house, help out some of the displays, and I also run the social media. Well, I started volunteering on the Keighley Worth Valley Railway, got involved, just helping out, something different, and I volunteered to become a trustee of Vintage Carriage Trust.
I've been a member of the Bahamas Locomotive Society for probably too long. I was a train spotter in my youth. The year I left school was the year that steam ended on the railways. And a group of us who used to go train spotting were sort of invited to go and see this engine that had just been overhauled at Leeds, which was Bahamas. It was at Bury in Stowe. So we went down one Sunday in September, saw the engine nice and shiny, and we were allowed to climb on it because one of the chaps there was involved in buying the engine in the first place. And to actually be able to touch an engine and get on it was something completely different to what you used to as a 15, 16-year-old lad wandering around engine sheds. And so that was it then, from 1968 right through the time we had at Dinton for 20 odd years, and then we moved here onto the Worth Valley in 1990, as I said, and I keep coming back.
It wasn't until 2014 when I officially retired from a career in maintenance engineering at factories, that I saw a note in the learning coach asking for volunteers. So that was my first hands-on here. I've had a train set when I was a kid, but yes, a real train, a real massive train. Yes, this is the first time I've been involved with what goes on in an engine shed.
My first memories go back to 1960 when I was 4 years old. My two older brothers used to take me to see the double-headed steam express from Liverpool to Newcastle, which used to go through Cleckheaton. And happy childhood memories of travelling by train, family holidays. I joined Vintage Carriages Trust in 1981, long before we built the museum building. And when we opened the museum in 1990, I thought I could assist by showing people around the museum and things like that. I think it's important that we try to preserve a history of what's happened, how railways and the Industrial Revolution generally changed the way people lived. Before railways came along, the only way of travelling was by horse, and that was the fastest means of transport. Railways changed so much about the way we live, changed what we ate, changed where we lived and where we worked, and led to small towns becoming big, important cities.
Railway heritage is important because it's the same as all heritage, which I think is important. It's important for people to know where things come from, how things have developed. Particularly railways teach us a lot about engineering. It teaches a lot about a lot of social history, class history. So Rail Story is made up of 3 different organisations. It is the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, it is the Vintage Carriages Trust, who run the Carriage Works Museum, and the Bahamas Locomotive Society, who run the Engine Shed Museum. So together we're all based at Ingro. Together we form a way of engaging railway history with the public, with schools.
The railway, Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, brings in 100,000 visitors a year roughly, and a good number of them come to Rail Story, and this is important for railway heritage as it gives people a chance and the opportunity to experience what it was sort of like to travel in the past. We've got the Vintage Carriage Trust and their excellent collection of carriages through the years, and the Bahamas Locomotive Society with their collection of locomotives. It shows people a hint of the past and what travel used to be like.
Railways encapsulates railway, you know, this country's community, if you like. It's ingrained in our psyche. So heritage railways is important because that can tell the story if the story is told properly and correctly. So there's a lot to learn from it. Things change so rapidly that things have to evolve, and only understanding what was happening in the past can things evolve into the future.
Yeah, good question. I think what it offers is a chance to look back at history of how things were, and people who visit actually want to step back in time and take in the atmosphere.
So here at Rail Story, we're based in Ingrow, which is in Keighley. Keighley has a strong railway history. Even just, for example, the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway entered preservation because of its significance to, you know, local trade routes and work, and the way it connects into our railway heritage as a whole. A lot of attention comes from the railway children as well, which was filmed here on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. And for example, at the museum here, we have a lot of the carriages that were in the railway children film, which spark a lot of interest.
There are several challenges to railway preservation. Fuel, you know, coal, you know, what's going to happen in the future, particularly about running the railways, the price of it's going up and the availability. Preserved railways have got quite a large problem of trying to become greener while obviously operating heritage machinery, steam engines and diesels, which in themselves aren't particularly green. So yeah, and also things like recruiting people, you know, as the retirement age has gone up, the number of people who can give time has gone down because people are working longer hours.
Lots of challenges to preserving railway heritage. Obviously, lack of finance is one. The physical constraints of having somewhere big enough to preserve everything. But a really big challenge is a lack of people who have the skills that were around up until the 1960s to actually conserve and restore vintage railway carriages and steam locomotives.
Well, it is just challenging, there's no doubt about it. There are so many obstacles placed in the way, whether that be changes to health, safety, regulations, rules, all the things that government attempt to try and protect us can be quite difficult to keep doing what we do. The thing about this activity is that it's fun, and that's an important word, is it has to be fun, because if it's not fun you won't do it anymore.
So there's a lot of challenges in preserving railway heritage. One of those main challenges is expense. Everything is becoming far more expensive. At the museums here, we look after our locomotives and our carriages. We do a lot of restoration work. And so there is that wear and tear constantly, and we have to constantly look after them. Materials are becoming more expensive to source. We're getting less and less volunteers interested in this sort of thing because they tend to be the kind of older enthusiast audience. So it is about getting volunteers who perhaps are younger but also have the skills to work on that preservation, which I think is also a little bit of a dying art. It is about working together as a charity as well. How do we get that funding in from other ways? And I think the more and more we can keep people interested in railway heritage, the stronger chance that we have of having more people on board to help us with that in the future.
From me personally, it's trying to keep a little bit of my past and my generation's past going for the future. It's trying to preserve the best bits. We can't keep everything, we don't have the space to keep everything, but if we can try and excite people and get them to want to discover a little bit more, that's what's important, I think.
I think people love being around steam engines and steam trains. People will certainly want to see heritage railways in action.
Not necessarily down to me and to the other young volunteers and trustees, but we're here to sort of bring the museum and the Rail Story group forward to the future. You know, and it's part of our sort of almost duty to keep this going.
Even when I drive through the gates and go over those cobbles, I feel at home. It's where I like being. So, and when you're volunteering, you're not doing it for yourself. It's an achievement for yourself, but you're giving the pleasure to somebody else, and they enjoy that pleasure.
Being part of it is brilliant, there's no doubt about it, and I get a lot of enjoyment from it. It's, as I say, it's not so much a hobby, it's more a way of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Although my father once said to me, he says, you never make a living out of this, you know. But that's not the point. I don't want to make a living out of it. I just want to enjoy my time. We're only here for a finite time, aren't we? And we might as well enjoy what we've got while we can. And if you can do that with your mates and have a good time, why not?
As a museum, we're constantly redeveloping and going through a bit of a refurbishment phase in the hopes that we can continue to attract our general enthusiast audience, but also that we can appeal to future generations as well, in the hope that we can carry on and really preserve and celebrate railway heritage.